Hey there, welcome back to my daily podcast. This is day two. It's January 2nd, 2025, and this is my all new daily podcast. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you get alerted when I release new videos. I won't just be sharing the daily podcast. This channel is for all things healing, personal development, personal growth, life, relationships, love, all of the things that we love to talk about. I am here talking about those things. This is unplanned, unscripted. I am just turning the camera on every day to come and connect with you guys and share with you what's happening in my day, what's happening in my life, what's popping up for me in terms of my own healing or insights that I'm having or things that are going on. Because I love to talk, I love to have conversations with people. And I thought, why not come on here and have conversations with you guys? And if you would like to come on this new podcast, please shoot me an email. This is a new podcast, not very competitive to get on it. I'm talking to you guys every single day. So there's 363 opportunities left to get on here for this year. And even if you just want to have a conversation, you don't have to be online or be an influencer or a podcaster yourself. Maybe you just have some interesting things to say or some questions for me. Please shoot me an email at danielle@danielledonofrio.com. My contact information is in the show notes. And maybe we can set something up. I think that would be really cool. Let me take a sip of my coffee and take a breath. I am a little bit out of breath because I was just trying to get my boys situated so they could be occupied while I came up here and talked to you guys. So I've been like running up and down the stairs, giving them what they need. Getting my second coffee of the day in. Hopefully you can't see the mess on my desk, but like I am committed to getting this podcast done every single day. And so I literally just turn on the lights, turn on the camera, and go. And so the thing I am thinking about right now to talk to you about is boundaries with your kids. The B word, boundaries, has been so huge for me in my healing and personal development journey, which has been an intentional journey for about 12 years now. And that's sort of, that's 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago is when my first son was born. And I wouldn't actually call it a very intentional journey until he turned 3. So that would be about 9 or 10 years ago. That was sort of my first son was about 3 years old when I really started to notice that something had to change and I needed to like rework my life, heal myself, figure out how to live with more inner peace and less chaos and less stress, less shame. There was just so many things I was dealing with. I couldn't even name those things back then, but I knew something had to change. And that's sort of when my intentional journey began. And boundaries has been a big, big part of it. It probably has been the central theme. I think it's safe to say that boundaries has been the central theme of my journey. And at first, I thought boundaries were all about creating peace for ourselves and keeping out, the toxic, sort of dysfunctional influences that were part of our lives before we embarked on a journey and probably early in the journey when we're still figuring out what we need. And that is true. Boundaries are critical for those things. It's very difficult to heal and grow and to change your life for the better if you still have so much noise, so much, toxic or dysfunctional influence, if you are in difficult relationships that just sort of reinforce your old faulty patterns and false beliefs over and over again, it just becomes very difficult to actually change your life and change how you think and behave when you're just like constantly pouring salt on the wound, if you will. And so boundaries are really important there. They're really important for creating and nurturing healthy relationships. So what you realize as you progress along the journey is that you cannot have a healthy relationship if both parties don't understand healthy boundaries. And some people come up and they just automatically understand what it means to have a healthy relationship, and they don't even have to talk about boundaries because they were brought up in a healthy, functional way, and they just understand relationships in that context. You know what I mean? They don't have to have these conversations about boundaries and what I'm okay with and what I'll tolerate and who I am versus who you are and where I end and you begin and that kind of stuff. It's just because they were brought up in those circumstances where there were healthy, loving, functional relationships. And so that's sort of the default for them, which is amazing. Amazing, right? And then some people come up, with really their only basis of understanding for relationships is dysfunctional, where there are no boundaries. And I mean, that can manifest in so many different ways, but if you were brought up and you came up in the world through childhood and your teenage years and maybe your early 20s, maybe through your 30s and 40s, who knows? Everyone starts the journey at a different point, right? But if you, get to adulthood and you don't understand let's say you get to adulthood and you don't have very healthy relationships and you realize like, whoa, make sure this is on good. And you realize like, whoa, my relationships really aren't that healthy. I'm not happy in my relationships. This is stressful. Like we're always fighting or I'm always upset or there's always tension. You start to realize, you start to do research on why that's happening, how to have healthy relationships or friendships, right? And you inevitably will come upon this word boundaries. And so that's been a huge focus for me. And I actually the reason that's top of mind for me right now, I've talked about boundaries on this channel quite a bit. But the reason it's top of mind for me right now is because I just sat my boys down in my office to have a little family meeting to talk about, I didn't call it boundaries, I didn't even bring up the word boundaries, but I just wanted to talk to them about sort of our new schedule going forward into this year. And so I was talking to them about the fact that they're getting a little bit older now and Mama wants to start working a little bit more, and it's important for our family that I start working a little bit more, and how I really need their help to be able to do that. And their help is really, again, I didn't use the word boundaries, but their help is really them respecting my boundaries. Well, actually, scratch that. First, it's me actually setting healthy boundaries with them with regard to time, essentially, time allotment and what's expected of them while I'm working. And even things like, with my youngest, I need you to sleep through the night and stay in your bed and not wake Mama up 1, 2, or 3 times a night so that I can get up early and start my workday early. And I need you to be able to respect that. And he's, old enough now to do that. And what's interesting about setting boundaries with your kids is, at least for me, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more emotional. I mean, not to discount setting boundaries with other people, because honestly, if you're not used to setting boundaries and you're in difficult relationships, dysfunctional relationships, setting boundaries with anyone is going to feel very scary. It's going to feel threatening. You're going to feel like, oh my God, if I speak up, no one's going to like me, or people are going to abandon me, or this person just won't want to have anything to do with me if I'm not going to engage in the relationship in the way he or she wants me to. So it's never easy. I think when it's your own children or even your spouse, there's a whole other layer of complexity added on because we're so close. We love each other so much. And, for us and our family, we homeschool our kids. So the kids and I are together all the time, right? So it's just, there's a lot of it's just a lot of closeness, which is so beautiful, but also requires boundaries so that everyone has what they need. And I think as moms, we are the first ones to give up what we need because we just want to make sure everyone is taken care of. And a lot of times we just naturally put ourselves last. And I've definitely done that a lot in my motherhood journey. Because of the way I grew up and some of the challenges that I experienced in my childhood, I sort of tend to overcompensate a little bit with my kids and try to just go above and beyond to make sure that they're happy and they have everything they need. I mean, we're reasonable about it, but that fear that I have underlying a lot of the time, which I have to be very conscious of, but I'm not, sometimes I slip, that kind of keeps me in this always letting the boundaries slip, always letting the kids kind of push past the boundaries, and I'll give in sometimes, and or I won't maintain the boundaries that I need in place to take care of myself and to do what I need. And doing things like this, working creatively, writing every morning, there are certain things from a creative standpoint and a productivity standpoint that I just personally need to feel like I'm a whole, complete version of myself. Not everyone needs that. Everyone needs something different. For me, that's something that I need. It just sort of feeds my soul. It makes me feel at ease, and I don't even need a lot of it, but I need some of it. And I feel like I gave up a lot of that, to become a mom and to become a stay-at-home mom and eventually become a homeschooling mom. And it's been very difficult. And if I look back, I definitely can say that if I had had better boundaries in place, if I was encouraged to put better boundaries in place with my family and to not be afraid to give myself what I need and to pursue what I wanted in addition to being a mom, I think I would have brought a happier and calmer and more peaceful and a fuller, more vibrant version of myself to motherhood. But hindsight is 2020, and I can, now that I'm very much aware of that, I can course correct and start to make the changes. And so that's just what we were talking about is, it's good to set boundaries with people because there's no way to have a healthy relationship if you don't have boundaries. And, one of the things I think about is having a really solid, strong relationship with my children as they grow into adults and start families of their own. And, that's not something that I have had or currently have in my life from my perspective. And so it's very important that I nurture that with my own family and my children, my two sons as they grow up. And, my oldest is a teenager this year, a couple months. And boundaries is such an important part of that because kids have to, and especially teenagers and young adults, they have to know that it's safe to set a boundary with you as their parent. So if we as their parents can model what it means to say, I'm drawing the line here, this is what I need to feel safe and happy and to take care of our family in the best way that I know how, then they are going to know how to do that with other people, with their own families, and with us as their parents as they get older. And actually, Mike, because boundaries is such an important part of my life, boundaries is a part of everyone's life, but for me, it's been a, like I said, a central theme of my journey. I talk about it a lot with my kids. And so, my sons, both of them, they will come out and say, I need to set a boundary, or this is my boundary and you're not respecting it. Or just they will actually come out with those statements, and that makes me so proud and reassured that, like, as a family unit, we are going to be strong because they already know that it's safe to say, I need to set a boundary here, and that no one's going to reprimand them for that, that we're going to actually commend them and respect it. And that is exactly what they need to do. And we acknowledge that that's exactly what they need to do as they're growing up, to be a responsible adult and to be a good, friend, husband, teacher. I only say teacher because my son does, some activities in which he will probably start teaching those activities soon. And it just will serve them so well. And I think it will really serve the strength of our family, unit as we become an extended family into the future. And my sons hopefully, get married and have children of their own or do whatever they want in life. Like, I think that they're going to go off and just really feel comfortable being their own unique people that can do whatever they want. And knowing that we're here for them, we're cheering them on, but there's no blending between who we are and who they are to a point where, as I think that's what happens, as we start in dysfunctional families, what happens is that, let's just say it's a dysfunctional parent-child relationship. You have the parent and you have the child, and there's this blending. And the blending, what happens is that the child doesn't have a thorough understanding of where they end and the parent begins, and vice versa. And that is why it's so uncomfortable for them to set a boundary with the parent, because they feel like if they set a boundary with the parent, that they're actually taking a piece of the parent away, and that's actually going to hurt them in some way. Like, that's the notion, that's sort of the feeling in our bodies where we feel like, I can't set this boundary because that person will be so utterly disappointed or emotionally distraught that I can't do this for myself because of what the other person will feel. And people will take that guilt and that sort of false responsibility with them through their whole lives. Oh, I've seen it happen right in front of my own eyes with people I know, where there's no boundaries for an entire lifetime of parent-child relationships. And all of a sudden, you know, parents are 80, 85, 90 years old, and there's still difficult relationships and relationship struggles and trauma and stress repeatedly happening because no one is comfortable or feels safe saying, this is what I need as a unique individual person, and this is what I'm going to tolerate, and this is what I'm going to do. However other people respond to that statement, or whatever statements you have to make, or whatever way you express your boundaries, however people respond to your boundaries, that's their business. And if they're a grown adult, you know, it's not up to you to manage the emotions and reactions of other grown adults. Now, when I'm setting boundaries with my kids, they're children, right? So I have a much bigger job in terms of explaining what the boundary is, why we're having the boundaries, what's the benefit to having the boundary for everybody, and why we're doing it. And the objective, because we have young children still as a family unit, the objective is always, because we're a family team. Like the term family team for us has been big since the kids were little, you know, that I want them to always remember that we are here for them. We're here working together. We are individual players on a team, essentially. And it's I love the positive sort of connotation of that. But we all have to understand. The kids have to understand their role. They have to understand our role. They have to understand what's expected of them and sort of what the purpose of all of it is. I think it's really important for kids to understand that there's a reason why we do things. It's not just, I'll say because I said so once in a while, but I think there's a reason why people say you shouldn't always say because I said so, is because, you know, kids are humans. I mean, they're mini adults, right? Just like we're grown kids. You can look at us that way sometimes, right? We're like still the same people we were way back then, just in grown-up bodies with more life experience and more understanding, right? But we all want to know the purpose of the things that we're doing. Otherwise, it feels like everything starts to feel like a chore, right? And so I just feel really good right now about where we're at as a family and the understanding that our kids have around boundaries. And that will be something that I continue to drive home with them as long as they're in our house, because like I said, I just always want them to know that they have every right to have a boundary. They deserve to have a boundary. And I don't want them putting what they think my feelings will be about their boundary or about what they want to do. I don't ever want them to prioritize that, right? We love and have compassion for family, for people, right, in general, but especially for our family members. But we also have to remember that when they're adults and they can handle their own business, and their emotions are their own business. So yeah, that's what we were talking about today. And again, I didn't even know I was going to talk about boundaries until 5 minutes before I turned this camera on. But you know, if you guys have questions about boundaries, experience setting boundaries, anything like that, leave me a comment or a question in the comments below, and I'll definitely respond. And I would love to connect with you guys. And let me know how your day's going. It's been a busy day for me so far. I am trying to pack a lot of things into my day, and I feel like it doesn't feel like there are enough hours, and I probably need to like scale back a little bit, but I'm always so afraid to do less because I'm so excited and ambitious, and there's so many things I want to do, and I don't want to stop homeschooling my kids. So I'm mother, I'm wife, I'm teacher, and I am content creator, writer and video producer, and all of these things because I love all of it. But I'm like, oh, it's already 10 of 3 right now, and I have so many things on my to-do list, and I really want to be able to. Like last night, I was working in bed while my husband was watching a movie, and we had spent the whole day together. It was New Year's Day, so it wasn't too bad. But like today, he's at work, you know, he's back to work all day, and I want to make sure that I can like hang out and, you know, visit with my husband before we just fall asleep, or I don't want to just be working in bed all night. So I have to like try to get things done so I can have that time, maybe even have some time to read and relax. But like I said, there's only so many hours in the day. I don't know, you know, I can't stretch the day. I'm always thinking about like, okay, when should my like block of sleep be so that I can maximize work time while the kids are still sleeping, maximize the time I don't have to be working during the day. And I say working like it's a chore or like I'm going off to a job, but it's just sort of like my creative pursuits that, again, I have got to pursue if I want to be a whole, complete version. I have tried so many times to deny myself that part of me. I've said, okay, well, you don't have to write, you don't have to blog, you don't have to make videos. Like, I don't have to work. I'm so blessed that, my husband works and I have the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom. So that kind of pressure isn't there right now, but I want to work. I want to contribute financially. And I can't not create every single day. And so I have to fit those hours in somehow. I have to I am my fuel is exploring my potential and seeing just how far I can go, just how much I can step outside my comfort zone, put myself out there and see what happens because of it. Like, I feel like if you're not doing that, if you're not exploring your potential, if you're not putting yourself out there, I don't know. I just feel like life gets really boring. And I've gone spurts where I've tried to convince myself that you're a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, just be okay with that. Just relax. Do the thing with the kids all day, and then when they go to bed at night, you can read, watch TV with my husband, and just relax, calm down. And my husband even says that to me sometimes too, you don't have to do this stuff. You don't, and I've tried it. I've tried it on, and it'll feel good for a couple of days, almost like a reprieve or a relief. And then, after a few days, I start to realize that I'm bored, and boredom for me very quickly turns into a feeling of depression. And I'm not a person who struggles with depression really at all, but if I force myself to give up that passion, that creativity that I just need to express every day, even if I'm not publishing, even if I'm not putting up a social media post or a video or writing something, even if I'm not putting it out into the world, it has to come out on paper in some way or come out, in some sort of physical expression. So I can't give that up or else I start to become essentially mentally and emotionally unwell. So it's like medicine for me. And anyway, so my only purpose for sharing that is that there are only so many hours in the day. And I'm sure if you're a mom, you realize that the days fly by. I remember when my kids were babies, they used to say, the days are long, but the years are short. I feel like the days are short and the years are short. Time is just whipping by. And I'm 40. I'm actually turning 41 in a month. And I just posted recently about this on social media that this is the first year where I'm really noticing, and it's striking me how fast time flies. Christmas just happened, and as soon as the Christmas season started, I was like, I feel like it was Christmas 2 months ago, and all of a sudden the season's here again. And I feel like there was no time in between last Christmas and this Christmas. The kids have outgrown their clothes, 2 full sizes, and it's just, I know it's totally cliche, but it's cliche for a reason that it just whips right by. I think it's probably especially true if you're a parent because you're so busy with people other than just yourself, right? And you can be busy if you're don't have children, right? It's work and friends and all that stuff, but when you're not just watching your own life pass you by, but you're also watching your children grow up so fast, it's I don't know, for me what it's been this year is just whoa, time isn't going to slow down for us. No one's going to come and manage your life for you and be like, hey, time is slipping by, you better get to that thing you wanted to do, put some effort into it and start getting disciplined so you can actually see the fruits of your labor in this lifetime. I mean, it's really crazy. I think you feel I felt really all through my 30s, maybe at least 37, 38, that there was plenty of time. And I know there still is plenty of time. But, when you hit that milestone 40, it's okay, it's go time. It's either now or never because, every decade that passes, I think it gets to be a little bit harder, harder and harder to pursue what you want to pursue. I mean, maybe that's not true, but there's definitely a part of me that's like, gosh, I wish I had like realized the things that I know now when I was 20 so that I could be like, 10, 20 years in to what I'm doing. But, everything unfolds the way it's supposed to unfold. I really don't have any regrets. It's just so interesting when you like, you've heard people before saying, I wish I could go back in time, but take all of the wisdom that I have now with me, because I don't think I'd want to go back and, have the youthfulness even of my late teens and 20s, but not have everything that I understand about life, that I have right now. I don't think I'd want to give that up. And I just heard a quote. Who says it? I forget who said the quote, but it was something around the lines of, life begins at 40. Everything before 40 is just research. That's not my quote. If I think of it, I'll let you guys know. But it's really so true. It's hard to start living fully when you don't really understand life. And obviously we keep learning about life. We build, the wisdom deepens and deepens as we get older and older. But there is something about, for me, this decade, this new decade of 40, my 40s, where I feel like I have this whole new toolkit of knowledge that I can now take with me and really carve a different path and see life through a different lens. And I'm just excited to keep learning more and more. And that's why I'm on my journey. I set off on my journey originally because I had a difficult past, trauma. And with trauma comes, and sort of dysfunctional circumstances comes false beliefs, and false beliefs, form our thoughts and our identity, and, which drive our behaviors. And, once all that starts to feel bad enough, for me, it was when I was, had become a mom, and it took a few years for me to say like, okay, this is bad enough for me where I need to figure something out. And that's sort of what I did. Started figuring it out, and it's been really awesome how it has unfolded. And I'm currently writing a book to help guide other people along that journey. And hopefully it'll be ready this year, but I'm not rushing it. It'll be done when it's done. And for now, I'll just keep talking to you guys on this podcast. But I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want to be too long on here. And I just hope you guys are doing great. Like I said, leave a comment down below, ask me a question. If the conversation was helpful, I'd love for you to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you stay alerted when I release new videos. And I would love to have you as part of this growing community for the daily podcast, and lots of other exciting things that I have coming your way here on the channel. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.